Coming up next on Tech News Today, Ron Richards joins me to talk about Google's new vision for its hardware going forward, made by Google. We're going to talk all about what that actually means. Also, Megan joins us for a little bit from Salesforce Dreamforce in San Francisco. Yahoo is putting its users out in the cold once again, and a candle might be the perfect antidote for today's Google-heavy news. All that and more coming up next on Tech News Today.
This is Twit. Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today, episode 1612. This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Zerto, virtual replication and disaster recovery technology that gives you the confidence to keep your business moving forward no matter what comes your way. Zerto empowers you to protect and recover your IT assets, move to the cloud, and know you're ready for anything. Get a free readiness assessment for your data center at confidentcio.com. And by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage process into the 21st century with a fast, easy, and completely online process. Check out Rocket Mortgage today at quickenloans.com/TNT. And by Blue Apron. Blue Apron will send you fresh, high-quality ingredients to cook delicious meals with simple step-by-step instructions right to your door. See what's on the menu this week and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/twit. That's blueapron.com/twit. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tech News Today, the show where we talk about, some of the tech news stories with people who are passionate about technology. I know we're passionate. I'm Jason Howell. I'm joined today not by Megan Maroney, but this passionate guy, Ron Richards.
How you doing? Good to be back.
Yes.
Of all days, I thought this is a good time to swing by the TNT studio.
Oh, look who just happened to drop by.
Yeah.
Why, it's my friend Ron Richards.
There's nothing going on today, right? We're just going to talk about some tech stuff, right?
Maybe, just random tech stories. I was kind of pleased with the fact that, in the past when, let's say, a company like Apple has a big hardware announcement day, it like sucks the life out of tech news. Like nothing, it's like a vacuum that occupies everything and leaves no room for anything else. Kind of feel like there's a little bit of that going on today too.
If I see one more article that has everything Google announced all in one place, I feel like every media outlet wrote the same article and just listed all the announcements. My feed has been on repeats all afternoon.
Yeah, pretty much. And you read them all because you want to see if you missed that one single detail that got through the cracks.
Exactly. Or see, and what's interesting in terms, because the announcement happened and then we got all the recaps, and then probably about like 2 hours ago, I started seeing but it's not waterproof,
right.
But it's not this, but it's not that. So now we're getting the hot takes. So, it's like the stages of announcements, the stages of denial kind of,
Yep. We started up here with the announcement. Now we're down here with the things that weren't in the announcement.
Yeah,
That's
exactly
usually how it goes. So what are we talking about here? Well, Google held its Made by Google event this morning in San Francisco. They're highlighting the shift towards creating a unified catalog of devices designed top to bottom in-house by Google. Google started by showing off its new Pixel phone lineup, confirming many weeks of leaks, basically, leading up to the event. Google confirmed that these phones were entirely conceptualized, designed, engineered, and tested by Google, with HTC's involvement only in the assembly of the devices. So that kind of tackles one criticism that I had going into this. Like, if we knew HTC was involved, how involved were they? Google kind of likens it to Apple's involvement with Foxconn on the back end. They say they pretty much commandeered the design of this phone lineup entirely. We got the two different devices. 5 inches is the regular Pixel 1080p screen, 2770 milliamp hour battery. Price point starting at $650 for the 32 gig model, $750 for the 128 gig model. And then you've got the 5.5 inch Pixel XL, which has a quad HD display, 3450 milliamp hour battery, so a larger battery, but that makes up for it with a quad HD screen. And $770 is the intro with that, with 32 gigs of storage, $870 with 128 gigs of storage. What do you think about Google's design language here? I feel like we got used to Google's design around the Pixel lineup, prior with the Pixel laptops and the Pixel C. This is definitely different from that, but I mean, it's close to the fact that Google designed this top to bottom. Do you like it?
Yeah, I actually really like the design a lot. I think that we've talked a lot about the differentiation between what has come before with the Nexus line of phones and now this new Pixel line of phones. Yeah. And it's clear that while the Nexus have been very good phones, they've come in at a much lower price point, and they always seem to be lacking something in the specs department. It was always, oh, it's good, but while these phones seem to address the but. And these are straight up Google flagship phones. These are, at $650 at a starting point for an unlocked phone. That's a pricey phone, but it's packed with a lot of good specs. And I think the design is really, I saw somebody on Twitter complaining. They're like, oh, well, they're just making, it just looks just like the iPhone. Like, no, it doesn't look just like the iPhone. I think it's got enough of its unique visual identity, specifically in the back panel where the fingerprint sensor is and the camera and that kind of like two-tone kind of polish to the case, right. Where I think that these are unique devices and they look top of the line. So
some of the things that are lacking that people are criticizing it for, at least one major thing, is that it's a flagship phone at a flagship price, but it doesn't have something like waterproof capability. And of course, iPhone has this year, so that's like one of the key features that people are saying, well, why would I switch to this? It doesn't have waterproof capabilities or waterproof protection.
And that's something that Samsung has gone big on, even down to the S Pen on the Note is waterproof now or water resistant. That was surprising, and I just chalked that up to this is the first one out of the gate. Yeah, I bet you the next one has it. Like they, it's not like the iPhone has been waterproof all these years. They just got it like a couple of weeks ago, right? So
it's a very, very good point that you have right there. Yeah. They touted so it's got a Snapdragon 821. I looked it up. It's not the first phone to have the 821, but it's one of the first. I think the first was an Asus phone last month. So I mean, it's got the cutting edge Snapdragon processor, 4 gigs of RAM. It's a fingerprint sensor on the back that also utilizes swipe actions, so you can use it, and that's one of the new features of 7.1 Nougat, which ships on this device. Talked up the cameras. The camera on the back is a 12.3 megapixel camera, f2.0 aperture, no camera bump. So design-wise, some people are happy to see that it doesn't have a bump. Google says that the camera scored, and DxOMark, of course, confirms this, an 89, which is the highest ever rating for the camera performance. Some people are like, yeah, but that doesn't really mean a whole lot. I still want to see kind of how this looks in person, especially considering it doesn't have optical image stabilization, but for video, it uses the gyroscope on a software level to stabilize. And the demo that they showed looked really good.
Yeah, that was really impressive. But we all know like OIS on still photos is kind of appears to be the difference maker between the really, really good photos and just good photos. And the camera has been the single point of failure on the Nexus phones. It's not across Android, period. And everyone seems to be trying to get the camera right. And if they truly do have such a high rating with that 89 rating on DxOMark, and the iPhone 7, I've seen some great photos from the iPhone 7 now that's in the wild. So I'm really anxious to see the photos coming from these devices to see if they are indeed better.
Yeah, me too. Other things, Assistant, of course, is the first device that has Google's Assistant. That's its AI. Basically, it's the next phase of Google Now. Google Now isn't a thing anymore. Now it's Assistant. At least it is here. One thing that I noticed, there was a changelog that was leaked not too long ago. I don't know if it's officially released yet on 7.1, but it also shows things that are exclusive just to Pixel phones, and Assistant is on that list. So it seems like when Sundar Pichai was saying a while back, like, we really want to bring extra features to our upcoming phones, like they've created a new launcher for this. It's the Pixel launcher. You don't get that on any other device. They have Assistant, which is the AI baked into the system. That is also exclusive here, at least right now. I'll be curious to see if that stays.
Well, that's competitive. That's competitive advantage to the phone.
Sure. And then, yes, and Daydream compatible. We'll talk about that, I guess. Well, we could talk about that next. Next up, Google showed how the Pixel phones, which are the first to be Daydream VR compatible, can be used with its very own VR headset called Daydream View, where Samsung's Gear VR is kind of plastic through and through, unapologetically. The View is more cushiony, has a cloth body design that was supposedly designed in collaboration with an unnamed clothing manufacturer. I'm wondering if it might be Levi's, because they already have their kind of Project Jacquard relationship with Levi's, but if it was, they would probably mention it.
And Levi's is in the Bay Area, so that would make sense.
But why wouldn't they mention that if that was the case?
True.
That would be a good cross-branding opportunity. The headset includes a docking space for the external controller inside the visor, which I think is pretty neat, and it's set to release in November for $79. I don't know. What do you think about this?
This was the big one that we were expecting to see something from Daydream. We had seen the blueprint of their headset at I/O. To see this approach that they took with the fabric to make it more cushiony and comfy, I was really impressed by this.
Yeah, and one thing that they've solved here too is that the hardware on the inside, like they basically showed it off as you just drop your phone in, you close it, and you go. Anytime you use cardboard, you put your phone in there and then you have to like center it or whatever. With Gear VR, you put it in, you have to slide it into the port. It has to fit just right. Yep. So there's a little bit of finickiness here. Here, what they're doing is they're actually centering it no matter how you drop it in. So when you drop it in, the unit can detect what kind of the orientation that it's in at that point, whether it's on or off center, and it can correct for it. So no matter how you drop it in, it's going to give you the right orientation right when you put it on your face, which a nice
which I think is the key to VR, is that they really need to demystify it, and they really need to make it less of a hassle, less of a challenge, and honestly less of a weird approach. Like even with the Gear VR, you still got to snap it in. It looks cold and not really inviting, where this looks warm. And by making it more consumer focused, like the design, it always comes down to design. And if the design of the interface of the way the visor works with the phone makes it so that you can't get it wrong every time, then that minimizes an obstacle to VR adoption.
Yep. And it gives you a little bit of that impulse, like, I think we're going to do this right now. Boop, on your face, and you're going into your world that was created by J.K. Rowling's. They showed off, which as one of the
talk about. I mean, if a lot of times they try to get some kind of in the moment media type thing, like give the Harry Potter people something to get. They're gonna line up for it. So that was a good get for Google
for sure. 50+ partners launching content by year's end, including J.K. Rowling's. That's Wizarding World, Fantastic Beasts, and Where to Find Them, and of course the hand controller, which we didn't talk about very much, which brings another dimension to Daydream VR. That would be your wand essentially in this VR world, and so it looks really cool.
And that works with, not only is it a touchpad and two simple buttons, but it also works with the gestures of your hand. It picks up on, how you're moving the controller, and that translates back into the app that you're using. I'm really curious to see what they do with this. It's not. I mean, this isn't going to beat Oculus. This isn't going to beat Vive, but we knew that this is mobile-based VR, and I was looking for Google to do something different in this area, and I think they have in a way that I didn't expect.
Yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to it too. Not to mention, it looks so cozy you could fall asleep with it because it's lined with cloth. Then we have Google's next attempt at routing the internet through your home with Google Wi-Fi. It's a modular approach that allows you to scale Wi-Fi throughout your home by interconnecting the units via its own mesh network, of course. Google Wi-Fi will be smart enough to know which Wi-Fi router you're closest to in order to hand off your connection seamlessly as you move around your home. All this can be managed through the app on the phone. That includes fine-tuned controls for the devices that are connecting to the Wi-Fi, meaning it suddenly becomes a bit easier to monitor your kids' connections without simply deactivating all Wi-Fi for everyone, which is kind of the nuclear approach. Google Wi-Fi starts at $129 for a single unit, $299 for a pack of 3. I know that my home needs a couple of these because anytime I go upstairs, my connectivity drops through the floor, and I'm lucky to stay connected. What do you think?
Well, the mesh network aspect of it. I mean, this is we're primed for the next generation of in-home routers, and I think that by having this modular approach to allow total coverage across a household, and on their website they go through if you have an apartment versus a house, how many of these units you might need. But I'm more impressed by the user control, by being able to turn Wi-Fi on and off on the devices, to get familial control, to take if you decided your kids have had too much internet time, turn them off. I think again that's approaching the user-centric approach to a Wi-Fi device, as opposed to if you ever look at a Linksys or a D-Link router or anything like that, those menus are arcane, and you've got to be a networking professional to understand them. This is like making it more usable and more user-friendly.
Oh yeah, and I think that's super important for getting people interested, because everybody, I would say, has experienced what bad Wi-Fi in the home is like. but most people don't know what they can actually do about it other than, I'll just get a new router. But that's not always the solution. This whole mesh network approach is really important to that, I think. Simultaneous dual band 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz network. It also works with the existing on-hub router, which launched a year ago. Didn't hear a whole lot of updates or any sort of information around that. This makes that instantly more usable by by integrating that as part of the mesh network.
Yep.
So cool stuff there. That's a pre-order in November, ships in December. US only at launch though, so that's unfortunate. Next up is the Chromecast Ultra, a 4K capable version of the popular streaming dongle that also includes support for high dynamic range along with Dolby Vision's brand of HDR. With the high bandwidth requirements, some users might opt for Ethernet over Wi-Fi that Chromecast is normally known for, and as such, the Ultra includes an Ethernet port out of the box. The Chromecast Ultra will run $69. It launches in November. I don't have a 4K TV, but I can understand if I had one, I would want any and all content to, match that, because, what better way to show off and enjoy that technical capability that my TV has than to have the content that supports it. So I think this is good news for some people. What do you think?
I think this is a natural evolution. Clearly TVs are moving in the direction of 4K and HDR. I don't have one either, so I don't have a need for it. But if I did, I'd be buying this.
Yeah.
It does kind of put a little sting in that the price tag is double what the original Chromecast was at $35. Now it's $69. At $35, that was just a no-brainer price point. $70 is a little tougher, but it gives you all this great functionality. And honestly, I've been dying for an Ethernet connection on a Chromecast for ages, because I want the fattest pipe I can get to my TV. And sometimes, like we said, Wi-Fi isn't as reliable. So this is neat. If you're a real home theater geek, you just get this, and you don't even think about it. It's just a must-have.
Right. And they also say that it's actually faster, 1.8 times faster to launch streams, which I think that speed of launching streams with Chromecast is commonly a complaint that people have. It's like, I touch it and then it works for a little while. I think Ethernet is probably going to help that too, because then there isn't that extra step of negotiating between the Chromecast itself and your Wi-Fi access point, and for things to fall off there. Also notable that Google Play Movies is getting 4K capability in November. I was wondering when that would happen.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner, but it makes sense that it's timed with the Chromecast Ultra.
Yeah, they don't want to give you a device to get 4K video and have no 4K video to give you, or vice versa.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And finally, some might consider this the big kahuna. Google Home first showed off at this year's Google I/O goes on sale officially today for $129, although it doesn't ship until November 4th. What you get is an Amazon Echo competitor that utilizes Google's own Assistant brand of artificial intelligence in a home appliance form factor that looks a lot like a large air freshener. It's been razzed for that many, many times over. Inside are a nice small collection of highly tuned microphones for picking up voice actions from far away, full range speakers that promise to outperform those inside the Echo, and of course all of those cloud computing smarts that Google's Assistant provides. Home can control smart home devices, it can play music, it can answer questions, and a whole lot more. So you say goodbye to Google now and hello to Assistant going forward. And I'm really excited for this. I've already ordered one. I have no idea which room I'm going to put it in, but I want it so I can put it somewhere.
Yeah, this is the one I was waiting for. This is ever since they announced this at Google I/O, and this finally showed a commitment to Internet of Things and home devices, and it looks like this will be worth the wait. If everything that they showed in the demo, now that's my one complaint about the presentation, was that it was not a live demo. It was a very produced demo, very produced. So I'd want to see one in the wild and see how it works a little more. But I already ordered mine. It's like, and that's the thing. And undercutting the price of the Echo at $129, again, this becomes the kind of thing like, I can take a flyer on that and try it and see how it works. And with it plugged into Google Assistant, and with some of the little touches that they've added since we saw the presentation at I/O, I'm really, really excited about it.
Yeah, me too. Okay, is still the wake word. That last part was Google. Just trying to save you guys. Natural language access to Google's Knowledge Graph, of course. So when your hands are, you're cooking or whatever, you can just talk to it and ask it a string of questions and feel like you have a friend. play that Shakira song from Zootopia, and then suddenly Try Everything plays. That was one way that they showed it off, albeit pre-recorded, pre-rehearsed and everything. But that's a good example of kind of this natural language, like inferring something, but you don't quite know the answer. You ask it a question and it surfaces something useful.
Well, yeah, what they didn't point out was that the only song it knows without by name was Shakira. So hopefully you like that. No, but the idea of like giving it natural language questions and saying, hey, Google, what was that song from Zootopia? And then it knows it and can go from there. And now, of course, the wrong answers are going to be very hysterical to watch once this rolls out to see how, because there's going to be some gap between you asking a question and Google figuring out what you're asking.
Yep.
But it's showing the advancements that they're making in voice search and just the power of the knowledge graph behind Google, what they've been putting together for the past 20 years can come, to fruition in this device in your home. I just think it could be total. Like, I've been hesitant to pull the trigger on Amazon Echo because as much as I like Amazon, I'm not baked into that Amazon ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And as great as people swear by their Echoes, I feel like this is the potential to 10x do better in terms of passion for the device than the Echo.
Yeah, for those of us who are very invested in the Google universe, this is obviously the solution that once we knew this existed, then we're like, oh, okay, well then I'm not going to get an Echo.
And you look at the integrations. I mean, they've built it to integrate easily with a lot of the leaders in home automation and IoT. So if you have a Nest thermostat, you just say, hey, Google, turn, make it cooler, or turn down the lights in the living room. Mm-hmm. Just all that, all those kind of simple tasks that we have now connected into our home, having it all route through one device that you're talking to is just like we're getting closer to Star Trek future. We're getting there. And so I'm excited.
Yeah, Google Home can also be cast to, so you can cast to it because it's got those great speakers and supposedly they sound pretty awesome because they look pretty sizable. I want to hear them though.
I want to hear the speakers because as somebody who has a really nice set of speakers in my stereo, like I always cringe when I get a device that already has speakers because I want audio to go through my stereo and all stuff like that. Yeah. So I'll be curious to hear how casted audio sounds like to it, as well as to be able to see if I can set up Google Home as the decision maker and have the audio output on another device. That's more what I'm interested in seeing work. And Chromecast and the audio only Chromecast work that way. So I doubt that I'll run into a problem there. It'll just take some setup.
Yeah, I mean, Google Home is designed to control all of those Chromecast and Chromecast audio that you have in your house. So if you have one already connected to your stereo, you could use your Google Home and your voice to say, turn on this song in the living room, and it goes through your stereo. And that's magical.
Yeah, it's magic. It's that frictionless magic. And even having the capacity, talk about frictionless, even you mentioned when your hands are busy when you're cooking, but there are times where you actually do want to interact with the device, and having the capacitive buttons and being able to mute it or control the volume or something by touching the device still gives you that tactile involvement where the device is there and you can interact with it.
Yep. And final point before we kind of close this out, it's been confirmed to multiple outlets now that Google's going forward with Pixel, that Nexus, they say, is done. They say they have no more plans with Nexus. So any of those rumors we heard about a Huawei tablet on Nexus, I mean, unless Google proves itself wrong, they're just doing this to kind of send you off the path or whatever. It sounds like kind of the Nexus thing is no more. And I'm sure we'll have a lot to say about that aspect tonight on All About Android when we talk about this stuff at greater length. But final thoughts? Were you pretty happy with the announcements?
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. I'm going to save a lot of my in-depth analysis for All About Android, but I thought it was a very modest presentation. I for some reason, maybe because we had hyped it up to be so much, I expected much more bombast, but it seemed to be very, straight and to the point. And Sundar Pichai started off the presentation with Assistant, and that was the running theme throughout it. And it's that intersection of hardware and software to make the users more empowered and give you more control over your devices seemed to be, was the running theme, which I think is really interesting. So.
Yeah, I mean, the event, if you want to call it that, was definitely understated compared to, I mean, man, they were promoting this sucker all over the place. So it's almost like I understand what they were promoting. They were promoting the fact that Google is now all in on its own hardware vision across the board. They weren't necessarily promoting the event, but to any person walking down Times Square that sees this thing with October 4th, like do they know that? Like, it's kind of a confusing message leading up to.
Yeah, well, we've hyped up the announcement. You know, the media and the world has, you know, with the Apple announcement, the Samsung announcements, and all this sort of stuff. We've made them into these things. So I kind of like the fact that Google made a big deal about this announcement, but then the actual announcement was pretty modest. So I like that.
Yeah, they got to the point. All right, there is other stuff to talk about. Not a whole lot of other stuff to talk about in the tech world, but we have things. More bad news for Yahoo, and I have to imagine the pending sale to Verizon just can't come fast enough for them. But first, let's take a minute to thank Zerto. They are the sponsor of this episode. IT asset protection, disaster recovery, and cloud continuity for confident CIOs. Confidence can actually make or break businesses in today's IT world. It can mean the difference between hesitation and action, success or irrelevance. Zerto's cloud-based business continuity solutions arm today's CIOs and IT pros with the confidence to know their systems are ready for anything. With Zerto, you can recover from downtime, you can test new technology, move to the cloud in a matter of clicks, all while maintaining business continuity. Zerto's virtual replication technology gives you the power to simplify your migrations. You can switch to new infrastructure faster, get quicker ROI. You'll know your data is protected by breakthrough hypervisor-based software that puts the power of continuous replication at your fingertips. You can migrate to the cloud with no disruptions, with enterprise-class software that empowers you to seamlessly and safely move virtualized workloads between public, private, and hybrid clouds. You'll get complete, comprehensive data protection in one smart solution for BCDR across storage and hypervisors. Recover from any disruption with checkpoints every few seconds. You'll also protect and recover your files, your virtual machines, and applications from any point in time. See for yourself how Zerto simplifies your data replication and disaster recovery. Plus, get a free readiness assessment for your data center. All you have to do is go to confidentcio.com. That's confidentcio.com. And we thank Zerto for their support of Tech News Today. So things could not be worse for Yahoo, particularly as relates to its approach to security, or apparently lack thereof. Joining us to talk about Yahoo's latest blunder is Ian Thompson from The Register. How's it going, Ian?
It's been a frustrating and deeply, it's one of those days when you want to punch something very, very hard.
I can understand your plight here. So tell us a little bit about what Yahoo has done this time. What have you done, Yahoo?
Okay, well, Reuters broke a story today that Yahoo had allowed, since last year, Yahoo had allowed the intelligence agencies to basically have a free pipe into its email accounts and allow keyword searches amongst all its millions upon millions of users' emails. Now, Yahoo hasn't specifically denied the story. They've given the rather mealy-mouthed, we have always complied with US law, which is basically confirming without actually confirming. If this report is true, and it looks to be true, then basically Yahoo has taken has treated its customers very badly. I'm going to have to restrain my.
I wondered if you were going to go there
on this. Yeah, no. I know we Brits have a reputation for being cultured and that sort of thing, but a case like this really does get my goat up, because basically they've said, it's only customers' emails, I'm sure it's not very important at the end of the day, and we're told it's legal, so fine. So why don't we do this? And we've contacted a number of other companies about this today, and Google were absolutely unequivocal, came back, we've never had a response request like this, and if we had, we'd have a 2-word response back, which is no way. Facebook as well come through, Twitter, Microsoft. All the other tech companies are saying that this was not something that they would get involved with at all. And yet it seems that Yahoo has a slightly different attitude to their customers' privacy and security.
Do we know what kind of information was being requested? What keywords were being placed on these incoming emails?
Well, according to the Reuters report, it was pretty much any keyword. Which, obviously with keyword searches, you've got to be very careful, because if you use generic words, then you get far too much data to actually analyze. If you use very specific words or specific spellings, it's much more handy for that. But certainly, if the report is correct, that this was a very, very extensive pipe into the emails, so much so that Alex Stamos, who Yahoo had hired just the year before to beef up its security, when he found out about this, basically stormed out of the company when they refused to shut it down. There's also reports from within the company that the backdoor itself was so badly written, anybody could have found it and used it. So basically, that's the problem with these backdoors. Once you build them, there's no way to guarantee that only the people you've told about them can actually use them. Once the flaw is in there, it is open to all.
How exactly does this differ from previous discoveries, things like Prism and Upstream? I mean, this seems, by all accounts, when I was kind of reading about this, it's a very different take on something familiar. What's so different about this time?
Well, the difference in this is that it appears to have allowed the intelligence agencies access to content of communications rather than just the metadata that's surrounding it. Now, metadata is absolutely critical, particularly if you're tracking somebody, because it allows you to build a network of who is contacting who and when and for how long. And actual content itself is usually pretty awkward to get through, because you've got to open it and then get a human being to read it, because machine algorithms aren't that good at getting sarcasm or jokes or stuff like that. But if the reports are accurate, it seems that Yahoo simply allowed a complete access to content. So anybody with a recognized clearance or a contractor working for an agency which will give them recognized clearance could go into any Yahoo email account and look for certain keywords within that. And that's the really big difference. This isn't just, so-and-so contacted so-and-so on this day. We had a case today with Open Whisper Systems being subpoenaed to give information to an investigation in Virginia. And because they don't keep all this stuff, all they could give them was when the account was opened and the last time it was used, and good luck with that, mates. Whereas Yahoo is giving them the whole enchilada, if that's the correct American phrase.
That works.
But it's a lot of data. I mean, it's content, it's metadata, it's the whole thing. And they just apparently have handed this over in a way that no other company, if their statements are to be believed, is doing.
Would Yahoo be compelled by law to do this? I mean, I know you're saying that some of the other technology companies are saying no way, that they would not do this if they were in that same position. But I mean, if the NSA or the FBI comes at you and compels you to do this, do you have a choice?
Oh, certainly. You can always fight it. Look at Apple and San Bernardino. Look at some of the things Google has done as well. I mean, we've been in contact with the ACLU and EFF to find out exactly what kind of legal justifications could be given for this, and Yahoo say that it was legal. I mean, the fact of the matter is that in the plethora of laws that you've got over here relating to surveillance, I'm pretty sure you could find a DOJ lawyer out there who could give you a legal justification within certain laws. I mean, for goodness sake, they're using laws going back to the 1700s to get hold of some of this data.
Sure.
So, I mean, I'm sure there would be a legal way to do it. But as to why they fought it, well, I mean, you've got to remember, Yahoo did try fighting sort of subpoenas for information before, and it lost. So it's possible they just decided, well, we're hemorrhaging money as it is. Do we really want to spend this money on lawsuits? Whereas Google, Facebook, and others will fight this kind of stuff, mainly on principle, but also because they're in a much better business position than Yahoo is. Yahoo, let's face it, is not exactly the poster child for financial health at the moment.
That is absolutely true. Do you think any of these, I know the previous kind of security revelation around Yahoo has had the potential, because it was them literally dropping the ball, maybe not necessarily working in conjunction with the government, but, working to kind of make themselves less secure and vulnerable. So that, had the potential of affecting the sale to Verizon or maybe influencing the sale price. Do you think this would have a similar effect?
Well, the chap in this office who wrote the story, Sean, was just basically, we were discussing this earlier, and he said, if I was doing Verizon's due diligence, I'd be looking at that 4.8 billion price tag and thinking, what actually are we buying for this? We're buying a company whose email users are leaving it by the millions. We've got a company who has shown very, very bad judgment so far, and not one with a really great future. If I was Verizon right now, I would be playing hardball on price with Yahoo and consider withdrawing the offer, because you could get a much better price 6 months from now. I'm already getting emails from readers just like, how can I get my Yahoo email emptied out? How can I get my Yahoo data backed up and off their servers so that they don't get this kind of access? And this is from normal law-abiding people, including my wife. But everybody wants out at the moment. It's just, this may be the straw that breaks Yahoo's back.
So then how do you do it? If somebody wants to kind of clear it out, do you have advice for them?
You're going to be facing a bit of a long job, particularly if you're a long-term user at Yahoo. I mean, the company's email. The company does have a web page up on this. I should imagine there's going to be a whole plethora of articles coming up at the moment. In fact, I'm sort of researching. I'm having a look at one at the moment to try and explain to readers how you can get this out. The problem is it's not in a company's particular interest to make it easy for you to switch out your emails.
Right.
And many of Yahoo's users have been using them for a very long time because it was one of the first companies out there doing webmail. So it's going to be a long, hard slog. But at the same time, I just can't see people trusting Yahoo on this anymore. I mean, largest email breach just a couple of weeks ago. Now the company's in fairly shaky financial position. If they go bust, then all that data is going to go up for sale anyway. So yeah, I would say get your data out now, put up with a little inconvenience in the short term, and in the long term, your data is going to be much more secure and your privacy will remain intact.
Or so you hope. The kind of trick. As much as you have any sort of control over. The problem is, even if you go in there and you delete your account, are you really deleting it? You're basically deleting your access to it, but that's about it.
Yeah, this is true. And I mean, it may be that there's copies on Yahoo's servers, but given how they run their IT department, do you think it's going to stay there that long? I mean, it's
a good point.
Yes, it's always difficult removing a digital footprint from any, particularly, from services or online in general. But I think in this case, the effort has to be made because this is just, what with this, the revelations we've had about the war between Alex Stamos and Marissa Mayer about security in the first place.
Right.
It's just looking increasingly dicey for a company which, maybe just should have shut down a while ago. Yahoo doesn't really know what it is at the moment. It appears they've got a bunch of wankers in management who care nothing about their customers. So, yeah, I think it's probably time to go.
Yeah. Ian Thompson from The Register, always a pleasure getting you on this show, even though sometimes the topics are dire. So maybe pleasure is the wrong word, but I enjoy your take on all this stuff. So thanks for joining us today.
I enjoy talking to you too, and maybe one day we'll have some good news we can talk about.
Maybe it has something to do with a candle. I don't know. We're going to talk about that at the end of the show.
I've done a story on that today.
Yes, exactly. Thanks again, Ian. We'll talk to you soon.
Which is soon. Bye.
All right, bye. Kevin Costa wrote in about Facebook Marketplace taking on Craigslist. Kevin says, he wrote in TNT@twit.tv, he says, while there may be certainly problems with not having enough information on a seller on Craigslist, the Facebook approach sounded like it would have the opposite problem. The moment that the words were spoken that an item was being looked at and you could see where they lived, who their friends were, etc., it was apparent that this could be easily abused and lead to increases in burglary, whether that be from strangers, friends, or otherwise. This is just kind of on the topic that we were talking about yesterday, Ron, about how Facebook Marketplace kind of takes some of the aspects of Craigslist, like an anonymity or whatever, and kind of makes it a little bit more forward, brings the identity a little bit more forward. Is that a good or a bad thing for this type of service? What do you think?
That's my reaction to Facebook Marketplace was no, thank you.
Really?
Yeah, just it's at least right now in the launch state, because I think they're going to have to figure out how privacy is protected, and sometimes you don't want to know the person that you're selling to and that sort of thing. Handling those transactions can be that anonymity of Craigslist. When I sold some patio furniture once, I don't want to know I don't want the person to know who I was, and vice versa. So I think that this is one thing that I'm not going to use immediately, but I'll keep an eye on and see how it develops and see how they handle these questions.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That sounds about right. Up next, we'll check in with Megan Maroney. She's not here. She's at the floor at Dreamforce in San Francisco, talking to a lot of really cool people there. We're going to check in on that. But first, let's take a minute to thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. They are the sponsor of this episode. I've certainly been through the mortgage process. Maybe you have too, and you know kind of the snags that happen leading up to actually getting that mortgage and getting into the home. It's not the easiest process in the world. Sometimes it takes a lot of management of information and documents and all that kind of stuff. Not a whole lot of fun. Well, Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage approval process into the 21st century. It's fast, it's powerful, and completely online. Rocket Mortgage has taken all the complicated, time-consuming parts of applying for a mortgage and just thrown them out the window. It takes them out of the equation entirely. If you hate searching through stacks of old files, old paperwork, finding all those pieces of information that's required here with Rocket Mortgage, they make it easy to do that. You can easily share your bank statements and pay stubs at the touch of a button. That's going to help you get approved in minutes for a custom mortgage solution that's been tailored to your unique financial situation. And even better, with Rocket Mortgage, you can do all of this on, that device you happen to have in your pocket, your phone, maybe you have it in your back pocket, a tablet. It's a quick online process that you can manage from the convenience of your couch. So if you're looking to refinance your mortgage or buy a home, you want to check out Rocket Mortgage today at quickenloans.com/TNT. That's quickenloans.com/TNT. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030. And we thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans for their support. All right, so Megan didn't just take the day off. Far from it. In fact, Megan trekked down to San Francisco to check out Salesforce Dreamforce. It's the annual conference that gets thought leaders and industry professionals all in one place to talk about things like enterprise software and services and a whole lot more. Megan really wanted to get a bit closer to what Salesforce is doing philanthropically and their dedication as a company to their own employees. So let's check in with Megan from Dreamforce.
Salesforce is obviously a different company. We're at Dreamforce, and there's meditation centers. There are kids coding. It's just amazing what they do beyond just the general product. I'm here with Cheryl Porro. She's SVP of Product and Technology for Salesforce.org. Welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you. Welcome.
So tell me a little bit about what you do for Salesforce.
So I run technology and products for Salesforce.org, and we build products for nonprofits, for higher educational institutions, and K-12 schools. And then I also build all the technology we use internally.
And so we're here, we talked to some kids who are learning to code. We talked to some teachers who brought their students here. Tell us about what you're trying to accomplish here in the kids coding camp.
Well, Salesforce is really passionate about equality, and we think it's really important that everyone get to participate in what is happening with technology. So much of our world is transforming because of technology, and if everyone doesn't have equal access to the opportunities, then we're all at a disservice. So we believe equality begins with education, equality begins with kids, and we're so passionate about STEM education and really giving all kids at San Francisco's Unified, at Oakland Unified, an opportunity to just really get their hands on the technology and just see how fun it is.
So how long has Salesforce.org been around? How long has that part of the organization been around?
Salesforce.org has been around since the beginning. Salesforce.org was born of the 1-1-1 model. Salesforce, at its inception, set aside 1% of product, 1% of employee time, and 1% of equity to start what has become Salesforce.org. And now we're doing so much. We have over 29,000 nonprofits and educational institutions using our technology. We have donated 1.5 million hours of employee time, and we have donated $28 million in strategic grants to educational institutions like San Francisco School District, Oakland School District, as well as workforce development programs like Year Up and Genesis Works. So we've been there since the beginning.
So what does that mean for a Salesforce employee, that 1-1-1? If you are hired onto Salesforce, what does that mean for you in terms of what you can do for volunteering as an employee?
Before I joined Salesforce.org, I spent 8.5 years with Salesforce.com. So I've been with the company a long time, and I know that it's a great recruiting tool and a great retention tool. Employees really care about their communities, and they want to be able to make a difference in a way that works for them. And we have employees that do amazing things, that have raised millions of dollars for their causes, that have helped nonprofits that they closely work with. And it's just such an opportunity for every employee to really give back in a way that works, and it's so sticky. Even personally, it's really why I've been here for so long.
Well, thank you so much. Cheryl Porro is the SVP of Technology and Product for Salesforce.org. Thanks so much for talking to me.
Thank you. Have a great Dreamforce. Thanks.
So Salesforce also has a collaboration going with RED. That's the organization that was started by Bono and Bobby Shriver to raise funds and awareness for battling AIDS. U2, I know you're bummed about this, Ron, because you won't be able to be there, but U2's apparently going to be playing at the event along with an after party featuring will.i.am and who else? MC Hammer of Hammer Pants fame.
That's amazing. The booking talent of Salesforce. That's impressive.
I mean, that's a range. Credit. You have to give them credit for the range.
Yeah. It's got a little bit of something for everybody.
If you can't make those festivities, you can still donate to dreamforce.com/red. And don't forget, Megan has full coverage of Dreamforce. It's going to be available as a Twit special. You can find that once it publishes later today or tomorrow morning. I can't remember when it's going to turn around, but you'll find it at twit.tv/specials. I should also mention that Wall Street Journal is basically saying that that Twitter is close to fielding offers, and Salesforce is right at the top of this list. So think of a future, think of a world where Twitter is a Salesforce property. How does that strike you, Ron?
I'm considering how big and massive Salesforce is. I believe it, and I also don't understand why. I mean, I get why they could leverage it as a sales tool and all that sort of stuff in the cloud and all that sort of thing. Yeah. But it seems like a real square peg round hole situation for me. I mean, but it's not like Disney buying Twitter makes any more sense. So.
Right. Yeah, Salesforce might make it just a little bit more sense, I suppose. So anyways, I'm sure we'll hear more about that throughout the coming weeks. TNT's fan of the day is Kishore Bhargava on Twitter, who says he's, quote, been a listener of the show for several years. Prisma listening here. Obviously a big fan of the Prisma kind of artificial intelligence, integrated into a photographic art app that you can get on Android and iOS. But there we are. Is that real or is that fake or is it art? I don't know.
Is this real life or is this fantasy?
Yes, exactly. Show us how you watch or listen to TNT. Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup. Post it on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, or Facebook. Use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we will hopefully find it after some searching anyways. Up next, you think you are a die-hard Apple fan. We have a product to prove it, and if you get it, then you have proven that you are. But first, let's take a minute to thank Blue Apron. They're the sponsor of this episode. Blue Apron's mission is to make incredible home cooking accessible to everyone, all while supporting a more sustainable food system. Also setting the highest standards for ingredients, building a community of home chefs, basically making you really good at cooking. Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes along with fresh, high-quality ingredients to make delicious, home-cooked meals. Every meal comes with a step-by-step, easy-to-follow recipe card and pre-portioned ingredients and can be prepared in 40 minutes or less. So you're going to save time, you're going to save money. Shopping at the grocery store is 60% more expensive than Blue Apron. And you can get these for $10 per person. So you're going to save money if you're normally used to eating out or shopping at high-end grocery chains. You can customize your recipes every week based on your dietary preferences and choose a delivery option that fits your needs. There's no weekly commitment, so you only get deliveries when you want them. Blue Apron delivers to 99% of the continental U.S. and sets the highest quality standards for their community of over 150 local farms, fisheries, and ranchers across the U.S. Seafood sourced sustainably, beef is raised humanely, chickens are free-range, pork is raised naturally, and regenerative farming practices are used for produce. By shipping the exact amount required for the recipe, Blue Apron is reducing food waste. You use exactly what you need for each recipe. Whether it's Japanese ramen noodles, wild-caught Alaskan salmon, or heirloom tomatoes, Blue Apron brings you the best. And not only that, supporting a more sustainable food system. It supports happy and healthy families along the way. Cooking builds strong family bonds, and research shows the Blue Apron families cook nearly 3 times more often. New recipes created every single week by Blue Apron's culinary team. They're not repeated within the year, so it keeps things fresh throughout the year. Crispy chicken Milanese with warm Brussels sprouts, celery, and potato salad. You got Thai green curry chicken and squash with yu choy, jasmine rice and cashews. You got roasted pork steam buns with black garlic mayonnaise and spicy cabbage slaw. I know it's dinner time where you're at, Ron, so I'm sorry. Seared salmon and fall vegetable hash with apple brown butter dressing. It's close to dinner time here. I might just have an early dinner if I didn't have 2 more shows to do. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/twit. You're going to love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron. So don't wait. Visit blueapron.com/twit, and we thank Blue Apron for their support of Tech News Today. Blue Apron is a better way to cook. All right, we've talked Google to death today, and we're in store for a little bit more tonight on All About Android. But for those of you who want a bit of a Google chaser, how about this? An Apple accessory company called 12 South just released a new hand-poured soy candle for your workspace. For those of you who can't get enough of that new computer smell. Specifically, the candle is called New Mac. And it promises to make you think that aging piece of hardware isn't quite so old yet because you always have the smell of a new Macintosh. I don't know. Does the new Mac have a particular smell? I don't know if I've ever noticed.
No, it does. I can attest to this. It absolutely does. When you get a brand new laptop, when you open up that box, it does have a new Mac smell. I don't know if it's more of a new Foxconn smell or a new, I don't know what the smell is, but it definitely does smell like something. I'd be curious to smell the candle if they have captured that. And I'd also be curious if the candle comes in a pristine, nice white box.
It had better.
To mirror the Mac experience. But yeah, that's clever.
And a premium unboxing experience, taking it out. I mean, it looks pretty simple, and the font looks very Apple-like. I don't know.
Yep.
They say that the scent notes are mint, peach, basil, lavender, mandarin, and sage. That's all it takes to make a new Mac smell.
And it's interesting because that's probably the new Mac smell like that because it's made in a garden of sage and basil and all that sort of stuff. In Cupertino, they meticulously piece together the components,
Yes.
Amongst nature. So it's nice to see it captured in candle form.
Finally, we've all wanted it. Unfortunately, you're going to have to wait because it's sold out. They say more later this month. But, you're going to have to sign up for it. $24 if you want a candle that smells like a new Macintosh. I'll leave that to you guys to check that out for me.
I will say this about this new Mac candle.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it took till 2016 for this to happen.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we've had a new car smell in our cars after car washes for a really long time. So, yeah, it's a really good point. Ron Richards, always so much fun podcasting with you. So much fun that I'm going to do it again here in half an hour.
Let's let it roll. Let's just keep me tethered to the computer. Every Tuesday, the highlight of my week is doing all about Android with you and Florence Ion and the other great folks that we get on the show. And we talk about the Android world. And today we're going to go, we thought this was in depth. We're going to go even more in depth on all about Android and specifically how the announcements affect the Android ecosystem. So looking forward to that. That's right. At RonXO on Twitter or, all about Android when we do that, twit.tv/AAA and a whole lot of other things you've got always going on. You're a busy guy. Yeah, just follow me on Twitter. I'll post all the fun stuff there. So. Right on. Thank you, Ron. We'll talk to you in a few minutes. TNT records live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. UTC at twit.tv/live. You can be part of the show by emailing us at tnt@twit.tv. You can leave us a short voicemail at 260-TNT-SHOW. You can also find us on Twitter. We're at Tech News Today TV. And if you really just need one single place to go on the web to find everything about this show, just go to twit.tv/TNT. You'll find everything you need to know to subscribe. Thanks to our technical director. Why am I blanking? So there we go, Kevin. Okay. I was like, I don't recognize the sweatshirt. Why did I just blank? Thanks to Burke for the words on the screen. And Kevin, I might as well also thank you for editing the show in a little bit. Oh, never mind. Lawrence will. See, I don't even know what's going on anymore. It's that kind of day. And thanks to you for talking tech with us today. We'll see y'all tomorrow. High five, Ron. There we go.